There's a moment when English finally clicks, and there are 5 stages that lead to this moment. In today's lesson, I'm going to teach you the 5 stages that lead to that moment when it all clicks. Are you ready? Well then, let's jump right in. The 5 stages that lead to the moment when it all clicks. Stage number 1, describing. Now, this is a very interesting stage because it starts at the very beginning, being able to describe what you're seeing. Let me break it down for you. So describing is the first time English stops being a translation task and starts being a seeing task. You look at something, a crowded street, your messy desk, and English words rise up to meet what your eyes are already doing. You're able to describe what you're seeing. At the beginning level, you're like, oh my goodness, I can tell you what I am seeing in English. Continuing now. When this clicks, you catch yourself narrating silently in English as you walk around. It doesn't feel like studying, it feels like pointing. This stage has to come first because every later stage depends on your mouth being able to match reality in real time. I can describe what I am seeing, but let me give you some examples of what this actually sounds like. For example, the cafe is packed this morning. Every table taken, people standing near the door with their coffees. You could see what I just said. I was describing the situation, the cafe, people standing up, holding their coffees. We're in stage 1, the describing stage. Here's a second example. She's wearing a long gray coat and those boots that go up past her knees. You imagined a woman standing, wearing a long gray coat with boots all the way up to her knees. Describing. And example number 3. The sky is that weird color it gets, right before it rains. Kind of yellow, kind of gray. Describing. Yes. This is stage number 1. Now, what's the feeling? So here's the feeling. Quiet surprise. A small private, like you're talking to yourself. Wait, I just did that. That nobody else notices but you. When you're able to describe something in English, oh my goodness, I just described the woman standing there in the gray coat and the boots up to her knees. Oh my goodness, I just described the cafe with the people standing with their coffees. It's a quiet surprise. You realize what you're doing. Now, why does this feeling show up here? First, because the gap between what your eyes see and what your mouth can say just closed for the first time. That gap has been there for years. I remember when I was learning Korean. Remember, as your teacher, I understand what you're feeling because I speak Korean. I learned Korean and all of these feelings I experienced. Even that moment when it clicked. I remember, oh my goodness, I can describe what I'm seeing in Korean. The gap is closing. Number 2, because you didn't have to search for words. They just showed up on time. And while you were still looking at the thing, they showed up. That's never happened before. So that moment at stage 1, it's clicking that I can describe things in English. And reason number 3, because something you thought required concentration just happened in the background. English moved from a task you do to a layer that runs while you're doing other things. I can describe things in English the moment stage 1 actually clicks for you. Remember, there are 5 stages and each stage is important. Stage 1 is when you're able to describe what you see. And I want you to remember you're very intelligent. So each stage is important. No matter which stage you're at, remember that stage is important. Stage number 2, summarizing. Summarizing. Now, this is one of my favorite stages to describe, to help English learners like you understand. Summarizing. Let me break this down for you. So summarizing is when English stops being a flood and starts being a shape. You listen to a coworker's long story or a news clip, and instead of panicking to catch every word, you hear the point. and hand it back in your own English. Let me break this down a bit for you because this is something that happens quite often. So I want you to think about it like this. You're listening to a person and they are speaking. Now, when you were at stage 1, your ability to describe was there, but you weren't able to summarize just yet. So for this stage, let's say an individual is saying many different words and you're trying to grasp everything, but then all of a sudden, in the midst of their words, you hear the main points. And these main points turn into a shape, which is the main idea of their story. Maybe they are telling you about their brothers and something that happened at school. So in your mind, instead of seeing multiple words, you're now seeing the main idea, the main focus. Why? You're able to summarize. We are at stage 2. Continuing now. So you're able to give it back in English. And when this clicks, you realize you've stopped trying to remember sentences and started remembering meaning. You couldn't do this before because summarizing is just describing applied to ideas instead of objects. Let that set in. Summarizing is just describing applied to ideas instead of objects. Remember in step 1, stage 1, I could describe who was wearing what. You could describe the cafe and who was in there. Now you are just describing ideas. Ooh, I love teaching. Suddenly, you can follow fast conversations and actually keep up. Stage 2 is powerful. So let me give you examples of what this sounds like at stage 2. For example, so basically, she's saying the project is delayed because 2 people quit last month. Summarizing everything that was said. Basically, she's saying, and this could actually go for the visual we had when I showed you someone speaking, but they're actually just speaking about 2 individuals, right? You're able to summarize. Here's example number 2. The whole article is really about one thing. People are tired and they're quitting jobs that used to feel stable. You're summarizing the idea, giving the main detail about the idea. And example number 3. He talked for 20 minutes, but the point was he doesn't want to move. You're able to summarize, get the main idea, even if you don't get each individual word. Now, what is the feeling attached to stage 2, the summarizing stage? Here's the feeling. Relief. You see the specific relief of finally being able to breathe during a fast English conversation instead of drowning in it. You know, when you're in stage 1, you're not able to summarize, you can describe, and you listen to someone speaking, you're trying to catch every word and you feel like you're drowning, like you're trying to keep your head above water. But then stage 2, you start swimming like, okay, I'm not drowning. I'm moving smoothly through the water. There is a sense of relief. So here's the question. Why does this feeling show up here? Reason number 1, because your brain stopped storing English as word by word sound and started storing it as meaning. That's a completely different way of listening, and it takes enormous pressure off of you as the English learner and English speaker. Reason number 2, because you can miss parts of a sentence and still understand the whole thing. For the first time, though, you're not relying on perfect input to have real comprehension. English fluency is becoming more of a reality. And reason number 3, because you just proved to yourself that English isn't too fast for you anymore. It was never the speed, it was the way you were trying to catch it. That realization changes what every future conversation looks like. You're able to summarize. You're able to understand what's going on. Even if you don't know each and every word, you're able to see the main idea. Remember, now you're able to describe the idea and not just describing an actual object. Stage 1, describing. Stage 2, summarizing. And stage 3, giving opinions. Giving opinions. This is another stage that I really enjoy. Stage number 3. So, giving opinions is the stage where English stops being someone else's language and starts being yours. You now are able to take hold of this language. You're not speaking about what you're seeing only. You're not summarizing what someone else is saying only. Now you're giving your ideas. You see, now you hear a topic, something inside you responds, and English reaches for the why. So I think this phrase stops being a phrase and becomes a door. When this clicks, you notice yourself offering real takes instead of polite nods. During conversations, you're actually giving your thoughts, your opinions, instead of just staying quiet. This has to come after the summarizing stage, because you can't have an opinion on something you couldn't first understand. What you can suddenly do now is disagree in English. Really disagree. That's you showing up. You're an individual. You have an idea. You have an opinion. And now in stage 3, you're able to give that opinion. Let me show you some examples of what this sounds like. Honestly, I don't think remote work is the problem. I think bad managers are the problem, and remote work just exposed them. Giving your opinion about remote work, sharing your ideas, giving your opinions. Example number 2. I get why people love that show, but to me it felt slow. Nothing really happened until the last episode. Giving your opinion about the episode. Stage number 3 is important. And then example number 3. I disagree. If the price keeps going up, people will stop buying it. That's just how it works. Being able to share your opinion, not summarizing other people's opinions, not describing what you see, but telling others your ideas. How does this feel? It's the feeling of coming back. It's like a part of you that's been missing from every English conversation just walked in the room. Hello, I'm here. I'm going to give you my opinions now, because stage 1 I could describe, stage 2 I could summarize, but baby, in stage 3 I can tell you what I think. Now, why does this feeling show up here? It shows up here because your thinking and your speaking are finally on the same side. For years, your opinions stayed in your head because English couldn't keep up with them. Now they can travel together. Moving forward, sharing your ideas, being a part of the conversation. Here's the second reason why this feeling shows up here. Because you stopped being the polite, agreeable version of yourself that English forced on you. The real you, with preferences, pushback, and point of view, is in the conversation now. You are an individual. You're intelligent. You have your own ideas, your own thoughts, your own feelings. And now in stage 3, you can give them. Here's the third reason. Because you realized you can take a small social risk in English and survive it. Disagreeing, having a take, saying something someone might push back on, it used to feel dangerous. It used to feel nerve-wracking. But now, it just feels normal. Because in stage 3, you are able to give your opinion. Now it is all starting to click more. Describing things you see, summarizing different ideas of others, and now giving your opinions. Letting other people know, hey, I have an idea. Which leads to stage number 4, conceptualizing. Conceptualizing is a very important stage, and you see that each stage is getting increasingly more complex. Conceptualizing is when English starts carrying your imagination, not just your information. Now, remember in stage 3, you were able to give your opinion. You're giving the information you have stored in your head, but now we're starting to imagine, conceptualizing. So you stop saying it was really hard and start saying it felt like running in a dream where your legs won't move. You see, you're now reaching for comparisons and little stories that the listener can see. You're starting to paint a picture in the mind of the person listening to you. You are able to give your opinion, but you want them to see it in their mind. Continuing. When this clicks, you realize you're making people feel things in English, laugh, lean in, and they're understanding you deeper. This comes last among the individual skills because it borrows from all three before it. What you can suddenly do is truly be yourself in English. Stage 1, you could describe. Stage 2, you could summarize. Stage 3, you could give your opinion. Now you're conceptualizing, painting pictures. Let me give you some examples of what this sounds like. Talking to him is like throwing a ball at a wall. It comes right back, but nothing ever actually happens. Now the person is hearing your opinion, but then connecting it with something visual, and they're seeing it play out in their mind, and they're going to understand more and feel something. Here's example number 2. My inbox on Monday morning is basically a crime scene. I don't even know where to start. Now, this is something that will probably make me chuckle because I get lots and lots of emails. So I can understand if this person said it like, hey, I don't know where to start. There's so many emails. And example number 3. Learning English felt like standing outside a party for years. And one day somebody just opened the door. You see the power of adding something visual, actually adding an analogy, right? You're letting the person listening to you feel something. So what does this feel like for you? The feeling is delight. The almost playful feeling of realizing you can bend English now, making it do things, not just say things. It's like you're playing with the language, enjoying how the language works. So why is this feeling showing up here? This feeling of delight? Because you stopped just reporting experiences and now you started to paint them. That's a totally different relationship with the language. One where you're shaping what the listener sees in their mind, not just handing them facts. You are painting a picture in their mind. Reason number 2 why this feeling shows up here. Because your imagination finally has a way into English. The pictures, comparisons, and little stories that live inside you, the ones that make you you, can finally come out in this language too. They can finally be a part of your journey. And the third reason is because people are responding to you differently. They lean in, they remember what you said, they quote you back to yourself. You're not just being understood anymore, you're making an impression and you can feel it. And it feels good. It feels good to have people lean and to understand what you're saying, to enjoy having conversations with you. That actually will make you feel more confident. Stage 1, describing. Stage 2, yes, summarizing. Stage 3, giving your opinions. And stage 4, conceptualizing, leading us to stage 5, combining all 4 fluidly. You heard me right. Combining the first 4 stages. So let me break this down for you. And then one day, you stop noticing which one you're doing, which stage you're actually at, which stage you're using. Someone asks about your weekend, and without planning, you describe the restaurant, you summarize what happened, you give your opinion on the food, and you compare the vibe to something vivid, all in one answer. Oh my goodness, it clicked. I did each stage without even thinking about it. No gear shifting. No translation, just talking. When this clicks, it doesn't feel like a new skill. It feels like relief, like English finally caught up to the person you already are, the intelligent individual you already are and always have been. Let me give you some examples of what this sounds like. We went to this tiny Italian place downtown, maybe 8 tables and candles were everywhere. The owner came out and told us the whole story of how he opened it during the pandemic. Honestly, it was the best pasta I've had in years. The place felt like someone's grandmother's kitchen decided to charge money. Describing, summarizing, giving opinions, and conceptualizing, all in one response. The 4 stages, the first 4, used fluidly. Here's the next example. She gave this whole presentation about the new strategy, and the main idea was cut costs, focus on the top customers. I think it's smart, but risky. It's like pulling weeds while you're still figuring out which ones are actually flowers. Describing, summarizing, giving opinions, conceptualizing. Here's the third example. I saw my nephew for the first time in a year. My sister said he'd been asking about me every week, which broke me a little. Honestly, kids are like plants. You look away for a second and suddenly they're taller than the window. This also included the first 4 stages: describing, summarizing, giving opinions, and conceptualizing. So what's the feeling you'll have when this happens? The feeling is home. Home, the quiet, almost emotional recognition that English isn't a place you're visiting anymore. English is now home for you. English is something that's a part of you now. English feels comfortable. You can use the first four fluidly without any problem. Why does this feeling of home show up? Reason number 1, because English stopped being something you do and became something you are in. The effort of constructing sentences disappeared, and what's left is just you talking, you having a conversation, you speaking without the extra effort. Reason number 2, because the 2 versions of yourself finally merged. There used to be the real you in your native language and a smaller, more careful you in English. Now there's just one of you, and English is part of how that person moves through the world, describing, summarizing, giving opinions, and conceptualizing. And finally, because you realized the finish line you've been chasing doesn't look dramatic. No fireworks, no certificate, just an ordinary conversation where you didn't think about English once. That quietness is the arrival. And you will have that moment. Again, the feeling will show up.